The Twin Valley Locker Room Show steps back inside Tiger football. The Twin Valley Locker Room Show is powered by Pulse Internet. All your devices, one superior connection. And joined by the head coach of the Clay Center Tigers, Ted Brown, coming off week number 1 for you guys, Coach. We have to go back and visit it, whether we want to or not. I guess get a feel for what opening night. Let's start with pregame, the atmosphere, Harley night, and so much the community does to put that all together.
Bike night was amazing. That was one of the coolest things I've seen in a high school football game ever in my entire life. So the atmosphere was awesome. And we had talked about before, I really hoped that we would get to be on defense first, because I knew the kids were just going to be just really, really excited. And they were. And we went on offense first. And the first snap, we messed it up a little bit because the kids were just too excited. But the pregame atmosphere was pretty awesome.
The game itself, we talked last week. This is a group of guys that haven't seen a lot of varsity football Friday nights. And you could see the growing pains. I think that was obvious. But you could also see them kind of settle in as the game went along and do some positive things.
Yeah. I was really pleased that they played really hard. And number one, first and foremost, I mean, that's kind of our expectations here. Are the kids playing really hard? And it was a lot of alignment, assignment stuff that you would expect from a really young team. Maybe just not 100% sure of themselves and, where they were supposed to be and what their responsibility was. And all it takes is one guy to not be sure and not do the right thing, and it's a chain reaction. And we saw that happen a couple times. And looking back at the film, I was pretty optimistic. After the game, I was pretty dejected. But after watching the film, I mean, there were so many correctable mistakes. And anytime you see those as a coach, you have to feel good, because I feel like our staff can get in and we can fix those things and get a lot better.
One of the things that is not correctable always is playing hard, and I think that's what you bring up. The guys went out. If you go full steam and with all you got, as long as you're doing that, especially early in the season, there's a window there to work on these things.
Oh, for sure. And as long as we get all these things corrected before district play, and we show a lot of growth before district play, I like where we'll be at. And then Abilene, they had one guy that started both ways. And you can kind of see that effect as the game wore on. Our guys were, that's just, if you play really hard for, 60 snaps, that 70 snap, that is hard. Especially when you have guys you're going against that have been getting a lot more rest, as they've been getting 30 snaps then. And so that's tough. That's tough, but we fought hard, and I was very proud of them.
A couple of things I'll mention and let you comment on. First off, defensively, we seemed to get where we wanted to be a lot of the times. We had guys in position to make plays, and we just didn't seem to finish. It's hard to go from practice to football Friday, especially when you're inexperienced. So I see that as a positive in the long run.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in practice, our first team's been tackling a bunch of sophomores, and then you have to go out there and tackle a bunch of 18-year-old men, and you're like, whoa, they didn't go down quite as easy as those guys did in practice. And you saw that. We have to tackle way lower, and then we're going to have to, and that we saw that kind of like you talked about. We would make contact with them, and then they would get 2-3 extra yards pretty consistently. So we're going to have to really drop our pad level, and that's going to be one really key thing going into this week.
I'll jump to the offensive side of the football. Actually, defense and offense. I thought Cooper Glavin had a really good ball game. He came and hit a lot on the defensive side, made too many tackles for your defense as a safety, but was there in position, threw the ball well, had some guys catch the ball. But I want to talk about the offensive line. A couple of things. That's as big a line as we've had in a long time. They still have pretty good feet. And I thought maybe a suspect for me going in is how long they could sustain.
Yeah.
I thought they did a pretty good job for a first Friday.
Yeah. We kind of make plans to sub them out a little bit more. And, after their performance, I think we can maybe ease up on that a little bit and maybe shorten our rotation a little bit, because they did handle it pretty well. And we had 5 new starters on the O-line, which is, you say suspect. That's a lot of question marks there. But we had 5 new starters, and for a lot of them, and our center, Keegan McDonald, this is the first time he had ever played offensive line in his life. So when you take all those things into consideration, then you got to feel pretty decent coming out of it, I suppose.
Let's talk about Marysville. It's a team that has been a powerhouse in the NCKL and across the state. They made it to the championship game last year. They've lost some guys like the Tigers have, but they're a talented team. Chapman may be better than some think. So they see that score and think, oh, Marysville's down. Well, I don't think that's the case at all, right?
No, Chapman is up. That's the case. Chapman is a very good team, and they consistently dominate the line of scrimmage. Chapman's line was really, really impressive to me. But I think it says more about Chapman than it says about Marysville. Marysville like you said, they're replacing a lot of starters, kind of like the same boat we're in. A guy like Bloomer at quarterback for them, you just can't replace guys like that. It just doesn't work in high school football. So they still have a lot of guys in space that are very, very talented, and that's kind of like that's what they like to do, is get guys in space. And again, it's saying more about Chapman than it was about Marysville. I think they're both very good teams.
Yeah, I would agree. And I guess more importantly than what the Bulldogs bring at you is, what's it been like? Kind of an odd weekend with Labor Day. You guys get back, though, and do get to practice, I think, on Sunday. As you come back from a disappointing opening night, how the guys responded?
Oh, they responded well. I mean, we went and broke down kind of what they did wrong and what they did right, some positives, some negatives, and just tried to correct those things. And they weren't really down on themselves, and I made it a point to make sure they weren't, because they showed a lot of really good stuff. And so, moving forward, we just had a couple things we wanted to hit on, but overall, they came in with high spirits and feeling pretty good.
Tiger Talk, 3 quick questions for you.
Okay.
Kind of caught you off guard a little bit last week, so we'll try to do the same. It was bike night. Of the Tiger coaching staff, who do you think's the one guy that would be on a Harley more often than anybody else?
Casper.
He used to ride a lot,
He did?
actually. Yeah, you called that one right. That's a good call. If you were to ride a first, yes or no, would you ride a motorcycle, or have you?
No, I don't think I would, because then my son would have that on me, because I'm not going to let him. So he would be like, Dad, you did, though. So, nah.
And favorite pregame song for you as a player, not as a coach? Did you have one that you just had to have in the system before you got on the field?
I personally didn't, but when I was in high school, they had some pretty good ones. Trying to think of TNT. It would probably be the one. That one's a good one, and we opened up to that one every game.
Bonus question: were you a get by yourself, meditate alone kind of guy, or were you in the middle of the mix?
I still am a get by myself, meditate alone kind of guy. Yeah.
I can believe it. Coach, really appreciate the time. Again, the Tigers at home against the Marysville Bulldogs, Week 2, Football Friday on the Twin Valley Locker Room Show.